What's going on, everybody? ChromeOnRust here. Today we're going to be taking a look at a 60 mil barb set that's going to be farming MP10 pretty efficiently, considering it's a 60 mil set. Now, why, you may ask? Well, it's because barbarians in the current state of the game are grossly overpowered. So if you're just getting into D3, or if you're just getting back into D3, you don't have a ton of gear, you don't have a ton of gold, you're really just worried about is farming as much experience as you can, and you're trying to get a ton of item drops, barbarians are going to be the way to go. That's just kind of the bottom line where the game is at currently. Now, just like with CM Wizards, just like with pretty much any class, there's going to be some breakpoints that we're going to want to try to reach. If you're not sure what a breakpoint is going to be reached by our attack speed mark. So you can see that our attack speed is at 1.44 attacks per second. But another side note is barbarians want to run around with their Wrath of Berserker, thrive on chaos up pretty much always. I'd say about 80-90% of the time, you want to have your Wrath of Berserker thrive on chaos up. For every 25 fury gained while Wrath of Berserker is active, it's going to add 1 second to the duration. So what this means to us, with the synergizing skills that I'm going to be going over, that we are going to be using, you're going to be able to have this ability up permanently. It's going to give you 10% crit chance, 25% crit damage, or attack speed, excuse me, 20% dodge, and 20% move speed. So huge damage, attack speed, protection, and movement speed. It's kind of why the barbarian is broken currently. And then you just throw on there that when you enter Wrath of Berserker, you are just immune to all crowd controlling effects. So that is really why the barbarian is grossly overpowered, but I did want to talk about that skill first because we're going to always want to run around with that up. So go back over to our attack speed here. So I'm going to throw up Wrath of Berserker, and that's going to bring us up to 1.69 attacks per second. So when you're gearing out your barbarian and you're trying to hit these breakpoints, you want to think about it with your Wrath of Berserker up. So this brings us up to 1.69, and so the breakpoints that we're going to be trying to hit, or the skills that we're going to be using, is going to be Hammer the Ancients and Sprint. Both those are going to have breakpoints that we're going to be trying to reach. I did reach the breakpoint that I was, and I'm able to lose like 2 attack speed on my gear. So while I'm going over it, I will briefly discuss that. So our Hammer the Ancients, with our 1.69 attacks per second, we are going to be reaching 1.6, or we're going to be hitting 34 frames is when we're going to be able to use our Hammer the Ancients every time. So every 34 frames, we're going to be able to use that ability, and that we're at the 1.661764706 mark. Now, all these numbers that I share with you on these breakpoints and everything, if they have to do with the barbarian, a lot of this, or if not all of this, goes out to a guy called Nubtro over on the forums. He posts quite often, and I think he's the one who figured out these breakpoints and the ones for the sprint run like the wind. So all the credit as far as this definitely goes out to him. This isn't like my findings or anything. So the next one is the breakpoint for sprint run like the wind. Is going to be, we're right in between that 1.66667 to 1.81818 attack speed mark. So what that means is that is going to tick 17 times every time our sprint run like the wind does proc. So it's going to be about 4 tornadoes, so 4 times 17. We're going to be coming up with over 60 ticks every time we use this ability. So the mark, or the attack speed mark that you do want to hit, is going to be 1.67. If you're at 1.67, you're going to be really optimized for your attack speed mark if you're close to this. Now, if you're going up to the next sprint run like the wind attack speed mark, then 1.67 is not going to be the mark that you want to hit. But if you're really close to, like, if you're like around 1.65, 1.63, or maybe if you're like 1.69 like I am, you're going to be able to just get a couple more attack speed or lose a couple attack speed, and you're still going to be able to do the same amount of damage. So you're going to be able to get cheaper gear that way, or you're going to be able to get gear with more damage, just less attack speed. So it's not going to show up in your damage numbers. This is kind of getting a little bit in depth, because we're going to be using all these skills and everything that are going to have these break speed points. Even if I got an additional 2 attack speed, if it did bring my Hammer the Ancients up to the next breakpoint, it'd be doing absolutely nothing for me, except for like the animation on my rend. The animation on my rend would then be just a little bit faster. So 1.67 is going to be that mark that you're going to want to try to hit. Now we can go ahead and go over the gear. Pull up the inventory. I do actually want to switch these skills around just so because I'm going to be using Weapon Masters. I'm not going to be using Unforgiven or Animosity. Those just so I can throw up Wrath of Berserker and show you what it was. the attack speed was. So we're going to be using Ruthless. We're going to be using Brawler, but I will be getting into those. But these are the skills, just in case if you want to check them out. So inventory details, we're sitting at over 200k damage. Now keep in mind, I am level Paragon 27. Been watching my videos. Yes, I did hit Paragon level 100 on Gort from Day the Earth Stood Still, the original, definitely not the remake. That's what I named him after. So Paragon level 100, that was very exciting for me. But we're going to start with the helm and everything. And Dario's Visages, you're going to need strength on there. They can come with strength, dex, or intelligence. And then you're going to be able to get one additional roll. So whatever you get on here is kind of up to you. The additional roll that I did go for, though, was all resist. So all the other stats are going to be on here, but you're going to be able to get one additional. So if you want like a socket, or if you want some armor, if you need vitality and some more strength, because you want to get more damage, you're going to be able to do that. So Andario's Visages, they're basically like a very, very cheap version of the Mempho. And I can see it has that 5% more fire damage taken. Now that's going to go from like 5 to 20. I would not recommend getting anything over 10%. Maybe 11, right in there. Anything over that is really, really going to be hindering you, and you are actually going to need to gear out quite a bit tankier. So get one from like 5 to 10. That is going to be optimal. And I picked this up for because we are going to go over the prices and everything. This was 500k on the buyout. I did buy out 4 items and I bid on the rest. So 500k on the buyout. This is actually definitely underpriced because it does have the least amount of fire damage taken. Probably be spending somewhere more around like 2 mil, somewhere in there, if you do just buy one out normally and you don't catch a good deal like I was able to. Now the next item here is going to be File Wards, really standard for pretty much every class. I went for the really high vitality roll in there. This was on a bid for 3.4 million. It's a really, really good deal. If I went to buy this out, 15 mil, somewhere in there. So if you're not bidding on all these items like I am, or just buying out a couple, you're probably going to need to set aside a budget of around 100 mil, maybe even slightly more to get a set like this. Bid on items, it's definitely going to be the way to go. Get those really good deals on like the 1 day 12-hour items, or the 1 day 11, the 1 day 10-hour items. Those are going to be normally where you're going to be able to find them, because if it's a great deal, they're probably already sold. So bid on items. Shoulders were on bid for the 3.4 million. The amulet here, strength, physical resistance, which is great because a lot of things do deal physical. And we have the armor on there for some increased protection, high crit chance, high crit damage. Crit damage can go all the way up to 100 on your amulets, and it's the highest for any piece of gear. So definitely go for crit damage. You don't need to go for attack speed. You could if you're working on a higher budget, but you're going to be sacrificing some just overall stats for your overall performance of your gear. If you choose to go for attack speed on here, I did for my original amulet. Actually, this is the second one that I bought. I went attack speed and I realized that I didn't need it. It was really just hindering me. So I went for the crit hit damage route and crit hit chance. The amulet was for 1 mil and it was on the buyouts. Once again, you're going to be able to find these really, really cheap. Immortal King's Irons, going to be really good with the Immortal King's chest, because we are going for that 2-piece set bonus. So the rolls on here, the strength can go from either like 90 to 100 or from like 170 to 200. So go for the higher strength roll and then either go for crit hit damage or go for crit hit chance. Whatever you're going to be needing for your gear, however you decide to get your attack speed, however you decide to get your crit hit damage, that's going to really be up to you. Whatever you're going to be able to find at the best prices is really going to be why you're going to want to gear out the particular way that you did. And that's the reason that I gear out this way, because it was the cheapest at the time for me. So the crit hit damage is going to be really, really great. Now, the Mortal King's chest here, I went for really high vitality. If you're building a set very similar to this, you're going to need really high vitality on a few pieces. I chose to go for like the chest, the pants. Those are the 2 places that I like to get an exceptional amount, because everywhere else I pretty much just try to go for protection and damage. So this chest was 4 million and this was on the bid. Not going to have too much problem finding things like this. Under 200 vitality chests for the IK are just selling very, very frequently. Lacunis here, I went for high vitality and crit chance. Those are going to be the 2 rolls that you're going to want to get. Now you could go for like strength if you get more vitality in other places, like I did not, but I needed high vitality. I needed the crit chance. And this bracers were for 5 million, and it was on the buyout. This is a semi-decent deal. Kind of happy with what I was able to get. Now the next item here is going to be a witching hour. This, you just pretty much want to go raw DPS. If you go for vitality, if you go for all resist, and you try to get really high damage, you're not going to be able to do it. Not in this, but I could have spent 60 mil. If I want to get vitality, I could have spent 60 mil on a witching hour similar to this. Now it might be a little bit extreme, maybe exaggerating, but 30 mil to 60 mil if I want to get like vitality or all resist on there, depending on the number amount as well, obviously. But bid on items, it's going to be the way to go. Ring number 1 is going to be the next item that we discuss here. Trifecta is going to be great. What I've found for pretty much all the classes here recently is if you want to get intelligence on your wizard, if you want to get strength on your barbarian, cha-ching, I'm able to drop my main stat, just throw on trifecta stats, throw on all resist, and I can just get insane amounts of damage and protection just for dropping my main stat. So if you're looking for rings, if you're looking for amulets right now, drop the main stat and just like filter through them, especially when you're bidding on things. You're just going to be able to filter through like so many items. You're going to be able to find one that is just right for you. So ring number 1 was 5 million. It was on the bid. It's a decent deal. It's definitely a decent deal. I'd say it's about a 5 mil ring if you did not include the socket. So happy to pick that up. Ring number 2 here was definitely much cheaper, but it is not as good. Ring number 2 was for 2.1 million. I wasn't able to get the socket on there, but it does have the minimum damage, so it is a quadfecta technically. But the crit chance is low, the crit hit damage is low, the minimum damage, it's not a min-max or anything like that. Attack speed's great. So it's a decent ring. You can find things like this quite often, just like with pretty much most of the pieces of gear that I am going to be showing you. Now the pants here were for 4 million, and these you're going to have a little bit more trouble finding something with the stats this high. 293 vitality is an extremely high amount. I've never had a pair of pants with that much on there, just a rare pair. So you may not be able to find something like that, especially when I have almost 100 strength on here. This is a very good budget item. Has over 80 all resist because it does have the 97 intelligence on there. It has the dual sockets. It's a level 63 item. It has over 400 armor. It is great. The pants were 4 million. It was on the bid. I was able to pick this up. I actually ended up bidding 4 mil on this item. Just a quick little story here, just so you can avoid things on the auction house so you don't make my new mistake. I bid on these for 4 million. They had a current bid of about 2. I was going to work and I was like, you know, I'd probably be willing to spend about 7 mil on those. So I went ahead, upped the bid, and what do you know? Well, it upped the entire bid price up to my original 4 mil bid. And so I was like, wow, nobody even bid on these after I bid on them again. So I would have actually been able to get these pants cheaper. So just hunt around and you're going to be able to find some great deals. Now the scorn here is going to be our most expensive piece. You want to set aside about 25% of your budget. I hear people say about 20 to 30% of your budget on your weapon. It's going to be your like main source of damage. On the scorn, you're going to want to get lifesteal. I wouldn't recommend getting anything lower than 5%. And then from there on out, just go for raw damage. Just as much damage as you possibly can with over 5% lifesteal, and you're going to be doing really well. Now that was on a bid, and the last item here is going to be a buyout. This was for 7.5 million. Ice climbers, good high strength, has the 153 dexterity roll, and move speed. You're going to want move speed on there. That is going to be our primary roll with high strength. If you can afford vitality or some other really good stat like armor on there, go for it. But move speed, high strength are going to be the two that you're going to want to try to hit. Now the stats here, we have 200k damage, just a little bit over, but when we're full buffed, that means with our Wrath of Berserker, with our Battle Rage, and with our Brawler, we're going to be doing over 400k damage. I'm going to throw that up on the screen there just so you can kind of see what it is in game. It's over 400k. It's really good. Our crit hit chance is going to be around 90% when we are using our Smash rune on our Hammer of the Ancients, but I'll be getting into that. All the other stats are pretty typical. Over 600 all resist, you're going to be doing all right. And I can see here I don't have quite over 600. So this means I'll be dying I don't want to say often, you know, maybe like once per run. But the more strategic you play and the less just willy-nilly, I can go runs on end without dying. But the minute that I drop my attention, well, you might be dying. So if you're just trying to farm for the lulz and you're not really trying to hone in on the game, you might want to get a little bit more protection. That is definitely one thing that I would recommend. Other than that, protection's going to be pretty good. Life's going to be decent. I'd say 35k is about the lowest that I'd want to go. And then 50k would definitely be pretty optimal. You wouldn't need too much more than that. Anything past that point is just going to be a little bit extreme. I'm going to highly recommend that you get movement speed on 2 of the items. One of them is going to always come on the Lacuni Prowlers. If you chose to go that item, I recommend going this item for sure. And then the next place that you get your movement speed would be on the Ice Climbers, unless you go for the Inna's Pants, which would have 12% move speed as well, which would then boost your attack speed, your crit chance by 1%. But you're not going to be getting nearly as much protection. But your attack speed is going to be higher, so you're going to be able to hit more frequently, and you're going to be able to get your life on hit or your life steal back faster. So there's that, but the protection is definitely going to be lower if you do choose to go with the Inna's Pants. So, I mean, that's pretty much it for the items. We want to go ahead and go over the skills here real fast. Hammer the Ancients with Smash. You could throw on one of the other runes, but I would not recommend it at all. The Smash rune is going to have the highest proc coefficient and is going to be of 0.80. So what that means, 80% of the time, you're going to be able to proc things like your Battle Rage. I gotta put the video on hold here for just a second. I gave an explanation of proc coefficients and it was wrong. I was sitting here editing the video and I was like, man, this guy's killing me. Which I'm killing myself here in this case. Proc coefficients, I'm going to use Hammer the Ancient Smash just like I did in the previous example, but I'm actually going to give you the right idea. So it is going to have a 0.80 proc coefficient, just like I said, which in turn is going to be 80%, but we're not going to have an 80% chance to proc Battle Rage into the fray. We are going to receive 80% of Battle Rage into the fray when we use our Hammer the Ancient Smash, and it does crit. So we are going to be gaining 12 Fury instead of that 15. That is the way proc coefficients work. I just need to throw that out there. Let's go ahead, get back into the video. Bing! That is the major thing that we're really worried about, is proccing our Battle Rage into the fray. This is the ability, if you don't play Barbarian, I'm going to not try to go way too in depth to like go over your head or anything, and I'm not going to try to make this too long either, because the Barbarians just synergize very well together. You throw up these skill sets and you're going to get a pretty good idea of what I'm talking about. So Battle Rage into the fray is going to synergize with our Hammer the Ancients. It's going to synergize with our Whirlwind, our Sprint, our Wrath the Berserker. The only one that's not really going to matter for as much is going to be our Rend. It's going to work really great with all the other ones. So Hammer the Ancients with Smash is going to have the highest proc coefficient, which what that means is when we are using the Into the Fray rune, which you have to use the Into the Fray rune, while under the effects of Battle Rage, crit hits are going to have a chance to generate 15 additional Fury. And like I said, when you're using our Hammer the Ancients, we're going to have around 90% crit chance. We're going to be gaining back Fury really fast, and that's pretty much how this build is going to be working. So Whirlwind with Hurricane, you could switch this out. Would not recommend it though. This is going to be how you get out of those sketchy situations when you're surrounded by mobs and the arcane beams are all around you. So Battle Rage into the fray, don't touch this. You're definitely going to have to use that. Sprint, Run Like the Wind, this is another one that you're not going to want to change. Wrath the Berserker, Thrive on Chaos, this you do not want to change as well, because as we already went over, this is very overpowered. And then Rend, if you're using a Scorn two-handed weapon, which should be a Scorn if you're using a two-handed weapon, Rend is going to be extremely insane. As you see there, 700% weapon damage over 5 seconds. So this is a damage over time skill. You will be able to use really whatever you want here. If you need more protection, you could throw up on your War Cry or something like that if you're having troubles getting into MP10. But Rend is going to be the optimal one, at least in my opinion. Another one that you could use, though, is going to be Overpower with Killing Spree. Your crit hit chance is going to be increased by 10%. So if you use this, yay, crit all day. That's going to, I think with our gear set, we might be at like 99.5 without adding it all up. You know, it's just pretty much 100% crit chance. So that'd be another skill that you could put there. And like I said, War Cry if you're having troubles with survivability. But Rend is going to be like for your fastest clears, just ripping through the white mobs. Now I chose to use Ravage, and I think a lot of Barbarians do, just because you reach a certain point where your damage is going to pretty much just wipe out all the white mobs on the screen, at least all these smaller ones, like all the bats and everything, all the little frogs that are hopping around. You're pretty much just going to wipe them out with the one Ravage, as long as it does crit. Then our Bloodlust, if you're having troubles with survivability, once again, I would try to use Bloodlust before I would throw on any of the other skills if you're trying to get a little bit more tanky, and then try to keep up your rend all the time, and you're going to be having a nice regenning effect on your overall life. Lacerate is the last rune that I am going to talk about, because the other ones I would not recommend. If you're at that point where you're pretty much one-shotting all the white mobs with your rend, and you're using something like Ravage or Bloodlust, and you're not having trouble with survivability, because then you wouldn't want to take Bloodlust off, this is going to increase your damage to 903%. So if you're really close to killing all the white mobs when you rend, but you're not doing it, and you're using like Ravage or something, you might want to just go ahead and throw up Lacerate. That way you can just use your one rend, start run away, and watch the loot explosion while your tornadoes just spin where you just killed all the mobs. So that is pretty much it for the skills. These are the ones that I would highly recommend going ahead and trying out. You can fine tune this a little bit to your playstyle. As for the passives, these are the most overpowered passives for, I want to say, pretty much any class, and for the Barbarian as well. Weapon Masters, we are going to be using a Scorn, which is an axe. That's going to be giving us that 10% crit chance, as you already saw in my stats list. Ruthless, this was also applied, but the one that's not applied to the damage number is actually going to be Brawler. As long as there are 3 enemies within 8 yards, so with the current state of the game, we're looking for the really, really high mob density areas already. There's going to be 3 mobs around you pretty much all the time. It's going to boost your damage by 30%. So that's going to be how I'm going to be doing over that 400k damage, and pretty much just shredding through elites faster than it would with any other class for 60 million. Unless someone just gave me insane gear for 60 mil. They're like, here's some insane gear for 60 mil. Which just doesn't happen. So Barbarians are extremely overpowered. If you're looking for a new class, just getting into Diablo or just getting back into Diablo, I highly, highly recommend going ahead, checking out the Barbarian. I know they're not everybody's favorite class, but if you're just getting back into it and you want a class that can farm an MP10 with your buddies, or you just want to experience what it's like, go ahead, give them a try. Well, that is going to be it for me, everybody. I am Chrome on Rust for Core Expert Gaming. Once again, I am going to give this set away, just like I've been doing all my gearing guides. So then we're going to have the Witch Doctor and the Demon Hunter next. So this giveaway, excuse me while I pull up my date here. So our Wizard giveaway is going to be on the 12th, which is a Sunday. And then this Barbarian gear is going to be given away on the 19th. So how we do the giveaway is just post anything in the comments below. Be a subscriber. I really would appreciate it. And that is going to enter you to win. And then on the 19th, I should have a video up, or maybe it'd be on the 20th if I'm slacking or something, or things happen, you know, power goes out, internet goes down. Hopefully either the 19th or the 20th, there will be a video announcing the winner. So I don't make you post your battle tags in the comments below. I've said this in all my videos, but I used to before make you post your battle. Well, I didn't make you, but I was like, post your battle tags in the comments below, because it just really helped me be able to get in touch with the person faster. But everybody's worried about the gold spammers, just people getting their battle tags and just spamming them all day. As we know, our friends list, there's more and more of them every day. So that's going to be it for me. I am Chrome on Rust for Core Expert Gaming. I don't know what I was just about to say. I think I was about to say, post in the comments below to win this gear set. I'm out of here, and you all, as always, have a great day.